I want to do a couple of things here. So one of the first things I want to do is if you guys, I'm just going to see how you guys are at as far as the math levels, and we're going to give a little test for this. So if you guys will go onto your phone, and let's do that little quiz again. Of course, I got to. This is straight test. You guys should get all these correct, I'm hoping for. So again, it's the quiziz.com.
Is it the same number?
Nope. As soon as I get the screen up there, so when you guys are there, let me know. I'm going to put up here the number to join game 65210. Trevor's in, Josh, Brady, Zach. Okay, so people are starting to come in here. Yeah. So we're almost there. So this is 5 questions. It's all there. It's basically, it's going to be in math questions. The questions I gave you are going to be similar to the homework questions, similar to some of the test questions you're going to get next week. So this is just going to let me know how you're doing on there. If I see that there's problems, I may say, okay, hey, let's meet or talk or something like that and make sure that you guys are straightforward. I'm going into drip calculations. We'll find out today in the review if we're doing drip calculations on the test Monday, but these type of questions will be on the test Monday. So I'm almost there. I'm missing 2.
I made it. I made it. I don't have to borrow your phone.
Anyone not quite in yet?
Yeah, I'm not.
Matt?
It says the game doesn't exist anymore.
Log out and try again. Who else is waiting to get in? Okay, log out, log back in. It's up in the corner there, and I got it up in the corner here. So this is just a quick way. I'm also going to, once we're done with this, I'm going to go through just a couple other questions again, just a brief quiz to make sure we're set. We're almost there. We got one more waiting on Will, right? There we go. Okay, you guys all ready? So for time-wise, I'm just going to start it.
Yeah, I think I lost. Just says wait. There. For now.
Okay. We'll see if it kicks in here on you.
Just guess, guys. You do better.
Any luck yet, Al?
Not yet.
Log out, log out. Christina, are you in?
Yeah.
Okay.
Am I just too slow?
No, I'm just making sure.
Try and log out.
Yeah, you can try that and see if it'll come back in. There's not technically a time limit on there, but there's a time that you get it in, and the faster you get it in, the more points you get. So you did get on now? Yes. Perfect. Got it. And when you guys are done, it should give you a review this time. I didn't do it for the other one, but this one should be able to, so you can go back and review. And if you missed any, you can see why you missed them, hopefully. And we'll bring out, I can also do some of these later as a homework thing where I send them out to you and you can do it on your own time frame outside of class too. And then Gary's homework should also have some areas for you guys to get bonus type questions. So that you guys can practice up if you feel you need it or not. So check those out. I'm not going to review the answers on these today once you guys are done. Just for time frame ways, I want to get back on and get to the other stuff. But this is also an example of these exact same questions are going to be on the test Monday. So I want to make sure if you guys are having any issues with this, I'm going to be here during lunch. I'll be happy to say, hey, come eat your lunch with me in the lab or in the classroom, and we'll go through some of these. We're hopefully going to try and finish early today. So if we get done by 3:30, 4 o'clock, if someone wants to stay after that, I'll sit with you guys afterwards with it too, whatever you need. So I got a couple of you still going, which is fine. So now basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to have you let me know when everybody is done. So it looks like I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people still going. Okay. You can always close it and see if you can come back to it. I'll leave the game open for you to try. So we'll see how it goes on there. I got 1, 2, 3, 4. I got a couple going. So I'm going to leave this open. So I'm going to stop you guys right now if you're working on it. I'm going to leave it open and you guys can come back to them. And so the same, I'm not going to end the game on it, so you get a chance to do this after we get done. But I want to jump into this lecture portion here for you today so we can get on here. So grab a piece of paper if you need it. Pencil, do it on your wherever. I want you to do these 2 questions for me, and I'm going to do it on the board, and I'm going to write it out what you need to do. So I'm going to talk through this, but I want you guys to kind of be doing it in your head to see how you do, because this is the questions you'll see. So your patient needs 0.5 milligram of atropine. It comes supplied as 1 milligram in 10 mils. And how many milliliters you're going to give. So basically, here's my desired dose multiplied how it's supplied, 10 mils, 1 milligram. My milligrams will cancel out. Everyone get that? Does that make sense? So make sure you organize it in a way that you get the answer. Okay, I'm going to keep the area up here. So I've got that same format. I'm going to change what my area is here. And again, number 2, patient is V-fib, refractory to amiodarone, orders 400 milligrams of beryllium over 1 minute IV. So we're going to give 400 milligrams of beryllium. Prefilled syringe reads 50 milligrams per mil, so we can use that concentration. So 1 mil has 50 milligrams, and I want to give 400 of them. We cross out the zeros. 5 into 40. I got 8. I drop the 0. So I have 50 milligrams per milliliter, or it could have been 500 milligrams in the 10 mils, but I used the lower concentration, and then 40 divided by 5 is 8. Does that make sense? Okay. And I'm going to give you one more page of this. So again, make sure you guys are in the formula. So you've got it set up. So on here, you have a heroin overdose protocols, 2 milligrams of Narcan. So our desired dose is 2 milligrams that we want to give. Our concentration is 0.4 milligrams, 0.4 milligrams in 1 mil. So how many milliliters do I want to give? What's that?
Just enough to get the respiratory drive back.
So it's 0.4 going into 2, but it actually comes into this, so it should be 5 mils. That makes sense? And again, same formula, 17-year-old patient, you order to give 0.3 milligrams, 1 to 1,000, it comes 1 and 1. So how many mils? 0.3. Easy enough? They should be. More practice for you here. These are questions written out. They're going to come just in this formula here. So 2 milligrams of Haldol comes 5 milligrams per mil. How many milliliters am I going to get? 2.5? Okay. Does that make sense? 5 into, did I do that wrong? I'm doing it with 10. 4, excuse me.
0.4.
0.4. You're asked to put 200 milligrams of dopamine in a 250 ml bag. Dopamine comes supplied. How many milliliters do you want to put in the bag? Okay. So what did I do different with this question? I reversed it. I want to know how many milliliters do I put in the bag, so what's my distractor? The 250 bag, right? Because I'm just asking how much I'm going to put it in it. I want to get that area in there, so basically I want to put, my dose is 200 milligrams. My concentration comes 400. So easy math for me. I'm going to cross out the zeros. So I got 2 times 5 divided by 4. So 4 to 10, 2.5. Okay. Pretty simple. Does everyone think they can get that? And can you do that with a calculator? So with a calculator, you can do any math as long as you have the formula set up right. So if you memorize this formula, dose ordered times milliliter over milligram, weight-based, equals the mil. So if you put this in every time and you fill everything in the formula, you guys should get it right. Simple numbers. You put it in right, you switch these up at all, you're going to mess it up. So make sure you have those down. Next aspect we're going to be getting on is building on the weight-based. Again, should be straightforward. I don't want to put a lot of time into this, but I want to make sure you understand. Basically, it's 2.2 is my difference. So as I'm going through this, and I've got a weight in pounds divided by 2.2 is equal to my weight in kilograms. That's all you need to know for that formula. Okay, does that make sense? So for the class, be right back. again, we don't want you using your own phone or computer, so we will be giving these out. So I want you to be used to what you potentially could be getting. And if any of these don't work, please let me know right away so I can exchange out. All right. So anything regarding the test, 2.2. Real life, divide by 2, right?
Yeah.
And don't handicap. So my numbers that I'm going to be doing for the test-wise when I'm testing you guys are going to be easy weights. 220, 176. Different things that will come out to even numbers. So if I got 220, 100 kilograms. 76, 80. So going to get easy numbers here to do that. And that's what I want you guys to do in real life. So use 2 to divide, come up with easy numbers. Like I said, if you're dividing the number by 2 in real life and it comes up to be 56, go 60 or go 50. There's that therapeutic range. So don't handicap yourself. Use numbers that you can do correctly in your math because you don't want to make it harder than it already is. So here's an example of how the questions are going to come out. So the same thing, but now our dose ordered is going to be in the milligrams or whatever the concentration is that we want to give our patient times a kilogram, right? So that's going to be our weight based if we're doing it there. So we're going to determine on our dose ordered is going to be based on weight. So if our dose ordered, in this case, we want to get 5 milligrams per kilogram of beryllium to be given IV to our 220-pound patient, and it comes pre-mixed syringe 510 mils. So our setup here is exactly the same thing, right? I go 10 mils over 500, right? That part's easy. So now I need to get this set up here. So here, 5 milligrams per kilogram, and my patient weighs 220, which is how many? So 220 pounds, so 100 kilograms, so my 100 is here. So cross multiply, kilograms cancel out, 500. That makes sense? So we want 500 milligrams. If I come across and I cancel out this up here and this down here, the 5 actually even cancel out, right? That makes sense. So what I want to do, this is my math, this is my way I do this. So now I want you guys to do it by calculator going forward. So when I come set this up, I have to convert the patient's weight to kilograms. First step. So I'm going to organize it. So that 220 divided by 2.5 is 100. Then I've got my ordered dose, which is 5 milligrams per kilogram, times my weight equals the 500 milligrams. Everyone's on the same page here. If I'm going too dumbed down, let me know. Slow down a little bit. Okay. So again, right here, ordered dose. This is just getting to how much I'm going to actually do my order. So what I'm going to do again is I'm going to take my weight to come in that area. I'm going to do my ordered dose, which is milligrams over kilograms, times my kilograms, times my drug on hand concentration, and that's going to know how many milliliters that I'm going to do. So again, adding this in, there's my ordered dose. There's my weight based on calculating that. Came in 10 mils and 500 milligrams. So if I were to do the math, I'd go 5 times 100 times 10 divided by 500 on my calculator. That should equal 10. Okay? So put the formula out, write it out, get this set out, and then use your calculator. Later on, we'll get this more area where you can do this in your head and you should come up with the numbers faster, but we're not there. I just want you to be able to have this formula. And I'm going to let you know who was doing. Oh, Tim Doggett yesterday had to do a heparin drip, and their pump went out. And so he, as one of my new medic students out riding, had to actually come up with the formula and write it out on paper to know exactly how to drip it because the pump wasn't going. Usually you just set it the pump and go from there. So there are times you guys are going to have to know this. So this is why I want you to know it. When technology doesn't work, you got to go back to the basics. I'm also going to give you an extra credit question with a diltiazem note that's a drip rate per hour that I'm going to give you extra credit. I'm going to see if you guys can figure it out, because you're going to get these situations where you got to figure out how am I going to do this based on what I carry. So that's the formula. Does that formula make sense? So if you guys look at the slideshow, it's going to take this down. This is that ratio and proportion version. I don't like this myself. It doesn't work for me. It might work for one of you. If it works for one of you, do it. You guys find out whatever works for you. That's all I care about. Again, math is math. There's multiple ways to get to the right answer. As long as you get to the right answer and it works for you every time, perfect. Ratio and proportion is what they show in this slideshow. That's why I show mine different, because I don't like it. But it's an area out there that works. So I'm going to go ahead and erase the numbers. I'm going to keep my formula up so you guys have that to set up. And we'll see what you guys come up. So we got a 150-pound patient with multifocal PVCs. You're ordered to give 1 milligram per kilogram of lidocaine. It comes supplied in 100 milligrams per 5 mils. How many milligrams will you be giving? Well, you don't have to say the answer there, so I want you guys to figure it out. So if you are calculated in, you're the 150 divided by 2.2 to come up with this number, to come up with this number, come up with this number. So I'm going to let you guys come up with the number. So I got two answers right, too, right? So how many milligrams will I be given, which is going to be this answer here. So that's part A. And this is part B. So when you do the math, what are you guys coming up with here for the milligrams given? 68? Okay, so 68. And what are you coming up with the mils? 3.14?
Just 3.4.
3.4. Okay. So again, simple math. That's all you got to do to come up with the numbers. And some of the test questions that we're going to have, I'm going to do things like this to see if you're coming up with that answer. Question.
For that same question, if we put 70 on the test and then 3.5,
If you round up and show your work, then yes. So when I go back and grade the question, because I usually will grade the math questions, if I go back there and see, okay, well, it should be 68, but you put 70, then that's okay if I see that you did the work. If you don't show the work and you just put an answer, we'll see how close you are.
3.75 is a good answer for that one.
3.75 is a perfect answer for that one.
All right.
If you get to that, it can be range again. If you show your work and I see you did the formula correct, you'd be within a range. That make sense?
What was that actual specific number? 3.4.
Yeah, that would have been fine. So it's basically, I'm having you guys come up with your calculations on what numbers you use. So what's 150 divided by 2.2? 68.8? 0.18. Okay, so if you rounded that up to 70, which you could do, if you showed me this answer and round up to 70, so then I can go 70. This is technically 1/2, right? I can reduce this formula into 1/2. This is how I do things. I apologize if I'm messing with someone right now, but I reduce this into 1/2. And 1/2 of 7? 3.5. That's an acceptable answer for me. And if you want a little bit above that or a little bit below that, but I would rather you guys use calculators right now. Again, because the way I do math in my head is different. So I want you guys to find a way that works for you. Again, I'm going to show you some shortcuts later, but right now, I want you guys to at least just be doing the formula. So let's go to this test question. So ordered 0.2 milligrams per kilogram. My patient weighs 130 pounds. Atropine comes 1 milligram per 1 mil. How many milligrams first am I coming up to? Milligrams?
Oh, sorry, that's milligrams.
1.18.
Yeah, 1.18.
Is everyone getting about 1.18? Okay. So if I'm getting 1.18, I can put 1.2. That's acceptable for me. So how many mils am I given? 1.2. So if you're not coming up with these numbers, I want to meet with you. I want to find out, what we're doing, and so I can get this formula down, because this is going to be very important, because these are going to be the give me questions on the test. So if you're not coming up with this answers, then I want you to talk to me. Fair enough? Okay. Again, this is the part when I tell you, I don't know if I'm teaching here or if I'm teaching here, so I keep moving forward. Let's try this one here. I'm going to erase all my information. $45, 2, 50, 1. Get out of the way so you can see both boards. So I'm coming up with 20.5. Bless you. Is that what you guys are getting? Or 20? Okay. So let's go 20 if you do that. So my total number should be 40. One-fifth of 4. 0.8. So is that an answer everyone's getting? If you put 41, then you could be up to 0.1. If you put 41 here, you mean?
Yeah, I put 41.
Yeah, so if you did 41, what's 41 divided by 5? Yeah, so wherever it's at. So acceptable answer. If you show your math, if you did 41 divided by 5, it's 0.82. If you put 0.82, good. That's within range, as long as you're on that area. So does everyone have that concept down?
Up on the 40, and this is where you got the 40.
Sorry.
So your 45-pound kid would be.
So this is 20. So now I'm going 2 milligrams per kilogram times 20 kilograms equals 40. That's where I'm getting it.
Okay, that's 40 milligrams.
It's 40 milligrams. So I'm giving in how many milligrams to give. Yep.
So, 45 divided by 2, then you got 2 milligrams. So then,
Real word, I'm going to take a 45-pound kid and say it's 20 kilograms.
so why not?
Because that's kind of 2.2. If I divide it by 2, it's 22.5. I'm just going to go, because again, I'm not going to handicap myself. I'm going to go down to 20. 20 times 2 is 40. 40 divided by 5 is 8, but then it's, because it's 50, it's 0.8. Yeah, absolutely. Too. You could have technically done that and gotten 45. And 45 divided by 50 is 0.9. That would have been acceptable if you did that route too.
So in real life, if you just keep
Yes, but we're not going to do that. If you do that on the test, you will get it wrong. Okay? So I'm preparing you for the test and for real life for that area. Now again, what's that?
No.
If you say you're giving 50,
No, not a test.
yes, she said in real life, I just gave the kid 50 and did this stuff. I said that be wrong. So anyways, but I do want you guys to be doing on the test 2.2. Now, Mike, I made up with a lot of these questions on here because I want to see if you guys are using the numbers or how they're at. So the test questions, they will come out pretty straightforward. They should be even answers. There might be a one or two that are going to come out at 3.14 or something like that. If you rounded that up to 3.1, I mean round it down to 3.1 or round it up to 3.2, that's acceptable. That's where I want you to show your work. No. So does everyone have this formula?
But you're okay with like 5 by 2?
Not on the test. In real life, that's why you guys are getting calculators. On the test, if you divide by 2, you will not come up with the right answer. You might come up with an answer that's an option, but it's not the correct answer. Okay? Depending on how these tests are going. So I'm going to now erase this. But I'm going to build on it. So when we do an ordered dose, we've basically been using this whole formula. So I'm going to build on this formula and give you a little bit more because now we're going to go into drip rates. So I want you guys to, one, be able to, if I give you a dose, you can come up to it if it's a weight-based dose or if it's a non-weight-based dose. And I'll let you know the test questions will come up and give you a weight on just about every patient, but the ordered dose may not be weight-based. So it's got a distractor in too, right? So be thinking those out. But now we're going to go into drips. Drips is the next set that we go into. So now we're adding the exact same thing we've been doing, but we're going to a next level of adding a drip set into it. So when we're dealing with an IV bag, we're dealing with the dose ordered. We're dealing with the, you guys need this up here anymore? You guys got it? I'm going to erase it because I need my workspace here. We're dealing with the drip set. And our answer is always going to be drops per minute. Okay? So here's going to be our formula moving forward. We're going to be building on this. So when we're dealing with medication in a vial and an IV bag, the volume, bless you, the volume in the vial is negligible. It's gone. So what do I mean by that? Let's say I want to create a dopamine bag. And I've got a 1,000 cc bag, and I got a vial of dopamine that has 400 milligrams in 5 mils. If I inject that 400 milligrams into that 1,000 cc bag, so I've got 1,000 milliliters, and I've got 400 milligrams in 5 mils, the 5 mils is negligible. We just get rid of it. We don't go 1,005. Okay? So just saying on there, so for math-wise, so when I give you a vial, and that vial has a concentration, and I say put that medication in there, whether it's in 1 mil, whether it's in 10 mil, whether it's in 5 mils, don't count that part of the mil. That's the distractor. Get rid of it. If you add it up into here, you'll still get the right answer, because what's the difference between multiplying by 1,000 and multiplying by 1,005? Nothing, but I want easier math. So that's negligible. So whatever the concentration comes in, don't worry about the milliliters in there. That's the concentration of the drug into the IV bag. So IV bag, so fluid, drug. So that's what's going to go here. Dose ordered is going to be the milligrams or the weight-based you're going to give, and this is going to give over 1 minute time frame because we give this in a period. So this is always over 1 minute.
You're not going to get it per hour?
If we give it per hour, you'd have to change that. Then that'd be 60 minutes. But we always leave it in minutes. But I'm not going to give you hour dosages till much later on, and those usually are going to be extra credit. I won't do that to you guys off the bat. Okay?
Yeah, what's that? What's underneath the fluid? What's it say on the bottom?
Drug.
Drug, okay.
This, let me put it here. Let me put it this weight-based. I'm using milligrams in here But again, just remember that's weight. So instead of fluids, I'm going to say milliliters. But again, that could be liter too, right? This is always going to be in your drops per mil. And your drip sets are going to be the same. So unfortunately, there has been some changes in this area to where we used to do 10 drop sets for a macro. Well, now there's a lot of areas. District 4, I think we got rid of all the 10s. We have 15s. So when we say a macro set, if I say a macro drip set and I don't say anything else, I'm referring to a 10. I'll go back and review my questions. I'll make sure I do it. The only one for sure is if I say a micro drop set. How much is a micro? 60. That's always the same. So I will make sure I review the test questions, and I'm either going to say 10 or 15. I'm not going to say macro because there is a difference. Okay? So that's the set there, and that's going to give us our drops per minute. So this is the formula I need you guys to know. If you guys have this formula memorized, you can't miss a question, right? Unless you type in the number wrong. You plug in all the numbers. This is going to be where it's at.
Real quick, so on the bottom of the ID1 is milligrams, and if the bag isn't infused with anything, is that applicable still?
Well, we're going to put it in the bag.
Okay, gotcha.
Yep. So I'm going to go through a test question, and now we're going to fill in this answer. So I'm going to go through this for you. I'm going to help everyone but Chris Long, because he's, oh no, I'm just giving you. So, doctor orders 2 milligrams of lidocaine per minute. Okay? So that's the dose ordered, right? Dose ordered goes here. It's the same thing if I was trying to get a concentration too, right? So that's a dose ordered, 2 milligrams. You have a vial that contains 1 gram of lidocaine in 5 milliliters. So my vial here has, what did it say again? 1 gram, 1 gram and 5 mils. So what do I do with the 5 mils? I get rid of it. So that's my 1 gram right here. So I'm going to put these in parentheses just as markers. And I carry a 250 milliliter bag of IV solution. So I got 250 milliliters here. And what drip set do I have? 60 per 1 mil. So there's my setup, right? So if you guys put the numbers in the right way, did I put the numbers in the right way? I hope so. Absolutely. So I have to do a change, right? So if I want to do there's 2 things I can do. I can make this into milligrams, or I can make this into grams, because right now, milliliters cancel out. These don't cancel out and drop. So I'm getting to my answer over here, because I always put what I want to find out, and I always want to know drops per minute. So those haven't canceled out yet. So how can I do this?
1,000 milligrams.
Okay, so 1,000 milligrams. Perfect. Milligrams are going to cancel out. What's my answer? Okay. So that's how I want you guys to do it. Now I'm going to show you a little simple trick. Again, I don't want to confuse anybody. So I want you to know this formula and do this if you're having problems. But simple trick, what's 25 to 1,000? 1/4. What's 2 over 4? 1/2. What's half of 60? 30. That's how I do things. But again, I don't want to confuse you. Yes, Jeff?
You got 1 gram of lidocaine over 5 milliliters. You don't worry about the 5 milliliters.
You don't worry about the 5 milliliters. Let's say, okay, let's do this. Just give me an example here. So someone do this work for me now. Tell me what the answer is with 255 times 2 times 60 divided by 1,000. 30.6. Nope, that's what I just wanted to show you. So if you did that, if you put it in and did those numbers, I see it on there, that's still a correct answer to me. But that's the reason why we get rid of it, because a lot of times it's a dose in 1 mil to 5 mils. It's just negligible, and it's easier. Now this is this 1/4? Not anymore. It's a little bit more than 1/4 by 5 mils. So that's the reason I do it like this. I don't add it in there, because it doesn't really change my answer, and I can make my math easier. But you guys do it however it works for you, because the way you do math and the way I do math may be the same, we may be different.
I recognize that as concentration, so
Right. Yep. So if you throw it into it, that's how you'd throw it into it. You'd make that 255. Or if this was a liter bag, you'd make it 1,005. And that's okay too.
no, I'm just.
Yep, you're just making it in your head.
It's like, okay, there's.
But I just wanted to let you know that that is acceptable. So those are options here. Is this making sense?
Yes.
Okay.
So a real world application, is this to figure out, like you're saying, the pump at them?
This is what I'm setting my drip rate at.
Right, so the drip rate on your IV pump, is that correct?
We don't
If
have a
you
pump.
carry a pump, I don't carry a pump, so I've got to figure it out. So I've even got to convert this into how many drips am I seeing, you know, getting set to
Well,
that.
so I guess that's my point, so then are you literally then sitting there and counting drips, so you're at the right
I
spot?
convert this to drips per second. So 30 drips per minute is how many drips per second? 2. It's a half. It's if there's 30 drips in 60, it's a half.
Right.
So I can count out how many seconds. So I can count in 10 seconds. How many drips should I have in 10 seconds?
Okay, I got it.
5. Yep. So I can calculate that because that's how I'm going to have to calculate a drip. Here's the good news in paramedicine. Unless you're doing dopamine, probably aren't going to have to calculate too many of those drips, but I'm going to teach you on there. But if you're doing critical care transport, yeah, you got to know this stuff, and you got to be able to count out. But I'll usually convert it to how many drips in a second. So every 2 seconds, I should have 1 drip for that particular answer. That makes sense? So I'm converting it again to another step.
That's what I'm just trying to picture, like, why?
Nope.
You get
That's-
a really cool pump.
It's a great question. So if you guys look at the slideshow, you'll see basically this walks you through that formula I just did. Because we're short on time, I just am not doing those areas. So that's the setup on there as far as the drip rate. I'm going to send you guys out a drip rate calculates on the quiz is. I'm going to send it to you as a homework. Let me go pop this in here and I'm going to show it to you. So I haven't closed. Is everyone completed? Everyone's completed now, so I'm going to end the game. So, game over. So what I'm going to do, and I'm going to show you this one once it opens up. So I'm going to send you this game, and I'm going to do it as homework later so you guys can do it and play with it. The homework already has it coming up here too. But basically what it's going to do is it's going to give you questions like this with drip rates. I don't believe any of them are weight-based. There's 9 of them. So I'm going to send this to you, and I'm going to do it as homework. Basically, I'm going to assign it for the whole weekend. So you guys, this is not a graded thing. It is not homework. This is for you guys to practice on. So I'll start it at end of today, and I'll have it end on Monday morning. So you guys can go on to it. I'll have it show you guys the answers. You guys can go through all this stuff, but I'll set this up to you before you guys leave today so you guys know to join in and all that kind of stuff.
Just email us a link.
I'll put the number up here before we go today. So that's the one in there, and I'll see if I've got a TED Ed that also has drip rates. I think I do, that has one. So I'm going to send you some more questions. Actually, I've got a great TED Ed which goes over, it might be going over some weight-based ones. So I'll have to see on that. If not, I'll make up a TED Ed today going over more of these problems, and I'll explain it on the, I'll record myself doing more of these on the board. I might do it this weekend at the station. I'll just record myself, and I'll put it up on TED Ed, and I'll be going just like I did here, and I'll explain them through. So if you guys got it, perfect. If you don't, watch it. It's not a required TED Ed. And then hopefully I'll be giving you more time to explain. Confusing? Some, maybe? Okay. It's a challenge. Again, it's another aspect up to this too. The next step I'm going to take you to, so you guys know, because I'll be teaching you again next on Monday. The next step on is this right here is the ordered dose, right? So if I go to dopamine or I go to some of the other drip, I go weight-based. So I'll be going my ordered dose, which is milligrams per minute, times milligrams per kilogram. Or excuse me, I'll be going my kilograms of my patient times whatever the dose is. Whether that's milligrams per kilogram or whether that's grams per kilogram. So when we go from a drip rate to a weight-based drip rate, this is the only addition, is this spot right here. So that's the next step that we'll go to. I'm going to go through these repeatedly, multiple different times, because I want you guys to be able to get it like this. Once I get it like this, then I'm going to go on to the next step with you guys, which will probably be in labs. There's a whole thing called clock-based method. And this is where I'm going to start teaching you this, what's called 2 a.m. math. So it's a little bit, it's next level, it's jumping. It's basically you see this answer and you get to here and you get the quick. But you've got to understand how to do this before I can teach you that. If I teach you that now, if anyone's just kind of getting this, I'm going to blow you out of the water. So I don't want to do that to you now. So I want to take it step by step. I have been doing this for, you guys are my 7th class I've taught this to. With the exception of my RNRT class, no one has gotten to the clock method at this time frame. So you guys are doing good as far as here. I was going to see where we're at. We'll see where we're at next week. If I get to clock method, no, you guys are the 2nd top class here compared to nurses and RT. If we don't get the clock method, you're right where you're supposed to be. You're going to hear that a lot.
What's that? What's on the show?
Questions or concerns? So I'm going to leave you guys with the calculators right now, just so you guys got used to them wherever I'm at. You might want to check with someone else's calculator. If you see it looks different, just make sure you're comfortable with these before Monday. And then I'm going to collect these at the end of the day or whatever, so I've got them back. Sound good? Okay. Let's take a 5-10 minute break. So the things we got going today, Gary already told you we're doing a review. So we're going to review for the class. We've got your tests done, so we're going to review the test. Again, here's my philosophy on things too. And this was actually good news for me. You guys missed, majority had a lot of high missed questions where you guys all missed them. Now I told everyone coming to my group who was asking, there was a calculation, the one where you had A through J or whatever. I said everyone missed F and C. Gary actually had those wrong, so you guys got them all correct. So all those ones came back. So you already got points back on those. So those answers were actually messed up on there. So anyways, you got all that back. But the ones you guys missed just means there was an area we did not teach to you. So in our review of that test, I'm going to highlight, and Gary's going to highlight some areas. And we're going to educate you. So I don't care that you missed those questions. Again, if I see that you guys miss questions, my first deficiency is me. Okay? If you guys aren't all getting it, means I did not teach it to you well. Or we as a group of instructors did not teach it to you well. So I'm not discounting you for those questions. In fact, like I said, I'll give you points back. I want you guys all to succeed. But there's one question specifically in there that I want you guys to understand because a lot of you missed it. The reason you missed it was because it's what you do first. And I'm going to put you in the mindset of National Registry. Now, my mindset is completely different. I would have got that test question on National Registry wrong every day because I do something different in Spokane County and I have a different mindset. But I want to prepare you for National Registry because who cares if you get 100% on my test and you fail National Registry, right? So that's what I'm trying to do is prepare you for National Registry. I'm going to get you into these FISDAP questions, and Brian Montezor just came in yesterday and was again telling me she passed the National Registry 80 questions shut off. She said the FISDAP tests were so much harder than National Registry. She was like, this is it? So when you take that, you're understanding, we're testing you at this level to take a test that's going to test you at this level. But our class right now, everyone's passing. They're shutting off between 72 and 82 questions. So right now, with the exception of one person so far testing, they're passing at a 96 to 98% level on the National Registry, and you only have to have a 70% to pass. That's where we're going to put you guys. So like I said, this is different from other paramedic tests. We're going to push you guys much harder. You can go down to Nebraska. You can go to where I went, University of Iowa. And I know people who come from those schools recently, and they're not going to be anywhere prepared you guys are. So you guys want to, go to those things. I think that's the reason you guys are here, because you want to be better medics in the street. Fair enough? 5-10 minute break.
We're doing over
test for that?
I'll ask Gary. Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay.